Let me know once you're able to see my screen.
Yes, Pradeep.
Okay. Okay. We were discussing about the static condition and dynamic condition. We will just reiterate on what is what. Then we will check on the dynamic condition EX, how that works and all stuff. Okay. So
Okay.
first thing is static condition. So what is a static condition? Like as we already discussed yesterday, static condition is something where if you want to give any condition value, then and there you can construct it with multiple operations which are provided by the Stirling order management system. And static condition can be used only if we have single attribute on that particular XML. And dynamic condition. Okay, static condition. Any doubts, guys? Like let us close the conditions straight away. Any doubt on the static condition? I can show you guys again.
No, Pradeep.
Okay, awesome. And coming to dynamic condition, in dynamic condition we have two kinds of dynamic condition. One is YCP dynamic condition, and the other one is YCP dynamic condition EX. So what is the difference between both of them? So whenever you are implementing any dynamic condition, you have to implement these two interface classes. YCP dynamic condition is an interface class, and YCP dynamic condition EX is also an interface class. What is the difference between both of them? Whenever we are implementing YCP dynamic condition, it will ask us to override only one method, that is evaluate condition. Whenever you are implementing YCP dynamic condition EX, it will ask two methods. One is evaluate condition and the other one is set properties. Okay, so that is the major difference between dynamic condition, sorry, YCP dynamic condition and YCP dynamic condition EX. And YCP dynamic condition is something where you have to write all your condition evaluation in the Java code itself. So basically, if you guys remember yesterday, we have seen YCP dynamic condition where we are checking the order number attribute whether it is null or not. If the order number attribute is not equal to null, then return true. If it is equal to null, then return false. This is what yesterday we have seen for the YCP dynamic condition. And also we have seen whenever we are implementing the YCP dynamic condition, automatically our IDE or our Eclipse will ask us to override an unimplemented method, that is evaluate condition. Okay. Any doubts on YCP dynamic condition?
No, Pradeep.
Okay.
No problem.
Now, the major thing what we have left over yesterday is YCP dynamic condition EX. Okay. So basically, initial days of Sterling, we were having only two. One is static condition and the other one is YCP dynamic condition. We were not having this YCP dynamic condition EX. Okay. So this is kind of an extension for YCP dynamic condition. But there were certain drawbacks in YCP dynamic condition, hence they have come up with YCP dynamic condition EX. So what is the difference between YCP dynamic condition and EX? For example, I want to check an enterprise code is equal to matrix or not. Okay. If I'm using dynamic condition, what I have to do, I'll be getting the input XML. I have to get the value of that particular enterprise code. Okay, I'll write it straight away. So I'll be having something like this: enterprise code. Okay, is equal to XML dot get document element. attribute of enterprise code. So like this, what happens here? Whatever the input XML I'm getting, I'm reading the enterprise code from that. And if I want to check if the enterprise code is equal to matrix or not, what I'll do? I'll do matrix dot equal ignore case of enterprise code. If it is equal to matrix, then return true. Else, I'll put return false. Okay, so something like this we can write. This we can do in YCP dynamic condition. But what is the drawback here? For example, today your enterprise code is matrix. Tomorrow, your client will ask you, no, 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 Pradeep, I don't want matrix, I want Apple. Like if the enterprise code is Apple, then only create the order. Or else, if the enterprise code is Agio, then only create the order. So there can be some change. So what you have to do, again, you have to come to this Java code, do the change here. Instead of matrix, I'll write Apple. Okay, what is happening? Whatever the condition evaluation you are doing, you have to do it in the Java code. In order to avoid that particular changes in the Java file, they have come up with something called as YCP dynamic condition EX. What is this EX? Let us see now. In EX, they are doing more or less the same thing. What they are doing, they are getting the enterprise code from the XML. Okay, and if it is equal to null, then they are returning false. And they are doing one more thing here, that is they are getting the properties from the configuration. We are doing some configuration. So what they are doing, they are putting all the whatever the properties we are getting into properties object, and that particular properties object they are keeping it as map data, and from map data they are getting the enterprise code value. So whatever you are configuring in the dynamic condition, that value is present here, enterprise code. And if this enterprise code is equal to whatever you are getting in the XML, then return true, else return false. So here you are not hard coding anything. Here you are hard coding. Like for example, here if you see, here you are hard coding something. But there we are not hard coding anything, but we are configuring the required things. We are fetching that particular attribute, then we are comparing with whatever we get in the input XML. So the set properties method will be used in such a way that it will fetch all the properties whatever we have configured in a dynamic condition. Any doubts on that?
No, Pradeep, from end.
Okay. Now let us see how that works. Okay. So I'll just create our new service. Let us keep it as check dynamic EX. Dynamic EX. Okay. Wait. I don't know. I tried to do a redeployment also last night, but still it is taking this much time, and I'm not seeing any errors also. Even yesterday it took so much time. Right? Okay. So before coming here, okay, here what I'll have one condition as we discussed already, one API, and let us put the input into an database. Okay. So let me connect the dots. True if it is go there, false it will go database. Okay. But to add here, I want a condition. Let us create a dynamic condition now. So I'll just name it as check dynamic ex. So here in this particular class name, we have to give our class name form 24 test dot ex. So the minute you save it, you will get a new option here called as properties under this. Okay, you can see we have got a new option called as condition properties. Let us add a condition. What is our condition we want to add? Enterprise code. So now I'm giving enterprise code. I'll give the value as matrix. What does this mean? If you're We want to check matrix basically. Whatever is coming in the input XML, we want to check whether that um, XML is having enterprise code as matrix or not. Okay. So now I'll just refresh this. Then we will use this dynamic condition there. This dynamic condition, we will use it here in the condition. Sorry, in the service. And guys, like you here for everything, you will see it as condition only. If you want to change it, you can right click, you can edit label, and you can give whatever name you want. API name. Create order. And the same thing you can do here also. Create order. Okay. So now what is happening? Any input that comes, it will go to this dynamic condition EX. And here in dynamic condition EX, what we are doing from the input XML, we are getting the enterprise code. This is from the XML. And from the map data, this map data is nothing but whatever you configure here. From here also they are getting the enterprise code. Then they are comparing both the enterprise codes which we got from the XML and from properties. And if both are same, then they are returning true, else they are returning false. Let me save this, and we will refresh and use this service. Meanwhile, let me open my API tester. So, I have saved it. I'll just have to refresh it. Okay. So now I'll go and use our order, I mean like order XML, and let us create this order XML with enterprise code as matrix first. You can see the order is created without any issues. Now let us give this enterprise code as Apple. Okay. So what should happen if I give Apple? Can anyone say?
It will be saved in the database. It will not
Database.
create any order.
Yes, awesome. So I'm just giving it as Apple. You can see it is API success, which means that it has gone to the database. Now, okay, tomorrow, as I mentioned, right, the next day, you like what you call, we got a change, okay, that they don't want it as matrix, they want it as Apple. Okay, so what you can do, you can come here and change the configuration. So now what will happen? The value it is fetching from the configuration, that is properties, will become Apple. And going forward, matrix will not be allowed. Yeah, that in local, that is how it is, Noor. We can't help it. Okay, so now it is changed. Now you can see it is Apple, and I'll just change the order number to 608. You can see something like, okay, I'll just remove the fulfillment type. You can see it has created an order with Apple. Now let me do it for matrix. Just be ship. So now matrix it should not allow because we have modified the condition to Apple. Okay, it is not good. For example, you want both Apple and matrix. How you can do that? What you can do, right here in the enterprise code, you can just give Apple comma matrix. Okay, and you, but in our code we have to do small change. What is the small change we have to do in our code? Just a second, guys. Yeah, sorry, I didn't wear my glasses, so I was okay. So there should be a small change in your code. What is a small change? Whatever you are getting here, it is having two values. That is Apple and matrix. Like it will be kind of enterprise codes, let us assume. Then what you have to do, uh, you have to define a string array. Okay, you have to define a string array, and you can name it as, for example, ent is equal to enterprise codes dot split of comma. Okay, so now you are splitting these two with a comma. Okay, it will have, one will have Apple, one will have matrix. Then here you can what you call check whether this particular ent is having the ent code. So how you can do that? So ent dot contains dot has, I guess you can't have dot contains, ent dot. string of array. You're getting it right. Like I'm just trying to
Yeah,
come up.
it is array right now.
Now it is an array. So you just have to check whether your enterprise code is present in that array or not. So
Okay.
basically, this is like it is just the different way of doing it.
Okay.
Okay, so like you just have to have multiple enterprise codes here, and you will get all the enterprise codes into a string, and you have to split that using anything, and you have to have that particular string of array, and you can check whether your enterprise code is present in that particular array or not.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
Abhishek and Noor, you guys got it, or
Yes, Pradeep.
Noor, anything? Okay, guys, like yeah, with this we are mm, good with dynamic condition, static condition, right?
Yes, right.
Yes, Pradeep.
Okay, guys, yeah. I guess just to finish this, I guess we have to
So
convert
here the
this array.
Pradeep, here set properties method will be called first.
Ah,
After
yes, the main whenever this particular Java code is getting invoked, the set properties method will be called by default.
okay.
Yes, we just have to convert into list of string which is having like enterprise list, which will be equal to array list list. We can just do array dot as list of ent. Yes, something like this we can write, and we can have enterprise list dot contains our enterprise code or ent code. So now what is happening? Whatever the value we are having here, we are get splitting them and putting it into a string array, and we are converting it into a list of enterprises, and we are checking whether whatever the enterprise code we are getting in the input XML, whether that is present in this list or not. If it is present, then return true, else return false. Is that clear, guys?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Okay,
Pradeep.
awesome, awesome. Maybe like as part of the case study email which I'll send, right? I'll give this as an exercise. You guys can try it out.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. So the next thing we have as part of our list of topics, right? We have user exit implementation. Okay, for get order number and before create order user exit. So both of these user exits are implemented as part of create order API or create order transaction. So let us see what is an user exit, and how can we implement that. So as we discussed earlier also, that user exit is something which is implemented for any transaction, so that it would help the API to find or to validate or to get more data required. It can be of any reason. So basically, user exits can be implemented based on our requirement. For example, whenever you are creating an order, okay, so here what is happening, every time I'm creating an order, I'm giving my order number here. Let us assume I'm not giving my order number here. Okay, so let us see what happens without order number. So I'm just giving, let me directly invoke create order API. Okay. I'm invoking create order API. It is automatically generating some order number. So if you see, you can see 38445339. I am creating multiple orders now. I'm just invoking create order. It is automatically creating an order number. So how this is possible? Okay. And also, I'm not sure whether Pawan or Abhishek, maybe you guys can answer this because you guys are already in the project. So, have you guys seen in your project any time order getting created starting with Y?
It
Yes,
is not
Pradeep.
with Y, but some sequence.
Some sequence. Okay. Maybe, see, they also might have implemented some user exit then in your project.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
There are
in
two user exits.
yeah, so in Sterling out of the box functionality, any order number which we are creating, it will start with Y. It will have Y, something like this. This will be our order number. But if I don't want this Y number, I want to have my own sequence of order number, then Sterling has provided some user exit to do that. What is the user exit name? That is get order number user exit. Okay. So now let us go and see what is this get order number user exit as part of our Java docs. In Java docs, we have create order API, and under create order API, you have n number of user exits. You can see here we have around like 15 to 20 user exits which are present in create order API. And under this, there is one user exit called as get order number user exit. Let us try to see what it is. So my requirement is I don't want this number, I want my own sequence. So here if you see, this particular YFS get order number user exit is called whenever the create order API is called without passing an order number. That means in your XML, whenever you are not passing any order number, then this user exit will be called. It is expected to return the order number. Who is expected? This particular user exit has to help the create order API by providing some order number to the XML. Okay, because you are not passing the order number, there should be some logic written in order to generate the order number, and that logic has to be written in YFS get order number user exit so that whenever the XML is invoking create order API, this particular order number which is generated by what you call that YFS get order number user exit helps the create order API. To code customize user exits, implement the method in the interface. So here also more or less the same thing what we are going to see for what we have already seen for YCP dynamic condition. Here also it is an interface. So you have to implement this interface. So if you see, I'm just going and implementing some test class. You can see I am implementing YCP get order number. I am importing it. You can see it is asking add unimplemented method. So get order number is a method. Here you have to write your logic. Okay. The system calls this method in your class. If this method gives any exception, the current transaction is rolled back. So for example, you have written some logic here and that logic is having some issue. So what happens? The entire transaction gets rolled back. What is a transaction here? A transaction boundary in Sterling order management system is something which will start the minute you invoke the API and until the last point. That is under API, if it is success failure, it will invoke action. Under action, it will invoke service. Under service, you are invoking some components. So our entire process is in one transaction. In this process of create order, if there is any exception, it will just roll back the entire transaction. That means that it is not doing anything. If this user it is not used to extend the logic, the system generates an order number by default. This order number by default is nothing but Y number. Okay, okay, guys, maybe not in your project. Today, have you guys tried creating order number in your local? Any order in your local?
Yeah, I've created it start with Y only.
It starts with Y only, right?
Yes,
So that is a default order number which is provided by Sterling. So now with this particular user exit, this get order number user exit, we are going to override that functionality of generating Y number. Okay. So how to do that? First thing is we have to understand what is the interface. It's not only about get order number user exit, guys. You guys have to understand what is a user exit and how that can be implemented. Okay. So any user exit you want to implement, first of all, you should know which user exit is suitable for your requirement. Like here we want to extend the sorry, here we want to generate our own custom order number. That is the reason why I'm using this particular user. For example, let us assume like I want something called as order repricing user exit. What is meant by order repricing user exit? So this particular user exit will help in getting the price information of an item. Like for example, let us assume the item A is not having its price in Sterling order management system. I mean, like in our system, we don't have enough information of the item A. What you can do, you can implement this particular repricing user exit, invoke any external system who is having the price information, get the response, okay, and after getting the response, you can modify the input XML. So let us read it. So you can see repricing user exit enables you to plug in pricing information, charges and taxes for an order. Pricing information returned by this user exit is used in the order. This user exit is called when any of the following. First one is an order is created, an existing order is modified and corresponding modification type impacts pricing checked. The repricing quantity of an order line of the order is changed. Okay, so it's basically your requirement will define or will make you understand which user exit to use. Is that clear?
yes,
Yes, Pradeep.
Yeah. So you can see many things like that. Like for example, convert currency. So in the input XML, the currency whatever they have provided, let us assume it is in USD, US dollars. But in order to make uh, clear for the Indian customers, I want to convert it into IST. Sorry, INR. Okay. So you can use this convert currency user. You can see user exit is called whenever currency conversion is required in the application. If the existing system, you can use a plug in the logic to perform currency conversion. Okay. So likewise, you will have n number of user exits for every API you are having in Sterling Order Management System, and you have to use a user exit based on your requirement. Here, what we are trying to do, a small user exit we are trying to implement, that is get order number user exit. And how to implement get order number user exit? It is as simple as how we have implemented dynamic condition. To implement an user exit, you have to implement a interface class. Whenever you are implementing this interface class, it will ask you to implement the unimplemented method, that is get order number method. Okay, so let me show you one simple Java code which I have written and deployed already. Yes, this is on. Yeah. So here, what am I doing? As part of my get order number user exit, okay, I am implementing this YFS get order number user exit, and as part of that particular method get order number, I am generating some system dot current time in milliseconds. So what does this system dot current time in milliseconds will do? See, I'll just show you guys that. So this is a test class. I'm just trying to implement it. Sorry, I have to write a main method. Okay, so you can see what am I doing? I'm just printing system dot current time in milliseconds. So if you see, it is generating some random number. You can see it is changing the number every time. Now the number is 37399. At the end 37399, I'm just refreshing. You can see it is generating a random number. So I have used this generation of random number, okay, and I have implemented that here in the get order number usage. So now what is happening? Every time we create any order without an order number, it is going and invoking this particular get order number user exit. And as part of the get order number user exit, it is generating some random number and it is creating the order with the random order number like this. Getting that, guys?
Yes, Pradeep.
Yes, Pradeep.
Awesome. So yeah, that's pretty much on that particular get order number user exit. And here, if you want to write your own logic, you can write n number of logics. Like for example, here I have directly written statement and gave like this here. But instead of that, if you want to write, you can write like for example string. I'll just name it as order number. Okay, and let me return that particular order number first. Okay, now I want to have my own. Okay, what is the exception here? Why is it telling? Okay, let me initialize. Okay, so let me come up with some logic. Like, what logic shall I do? Uh, can anyone come up with any idea?
Uh,
So,
like
order number.
usually, like in our project, it will start with some prefix, and after that some sequence, and every time we create order, no, it will increment that number by one.
So there they are using something called as DB sequence. Okay, I'll explain you that. So what happens, right? There is a concept called as DB sequence. Okay, in Sterling Order Management System. So what happens with this DB sequence, right? Uh, for example, you are having something to increment, as you mentioned. Okay, and what I want to do, I want to have some start and end range. So let us give my start as like for example like this, 10 lakhs. Okay, and end as something like this. So now, whenever I am starting something in your what you call that database, they will create a sequence for this. Okay, so what happens is whenever they are creating the first order, it will start with this number. Okay, and whenever they are making the next order, whenever the second order comes, right, it will try to check what is the value in this DB sequence, that is the current value in the DB sequence, and they will have some method called as get next value. There is some method something like this. Okay, so they'll have something called as get the next value, and the minute they get the next value, it will be the upcoming value, something like this. It will be keep on going. So the current value is this one. So what they will do? Current sequence dot get next value. This will give the what we call that, the next number whatever it has to use. So whenever you want any sequence, you have to use this kind of logic in Sterling order management system. Why would we need DB sequence? Because today I'm creating an order, okay, and tomorrow I'm creating one more order, but there is no way we can hold the value until that time. You getting my point, Pawan?
Yes, yes.
You got it right. I mean, what
Yeah.
happens is, for example, let us assume I'm giving here only, okay, 1,000, okay, and okay, sorry, I'm like, let us assume I'm giving it as 1,000, and I want to up, what you call that, how to say, increment it, okay. If I want, okay, let me give it as an integer first. So if I want to increment it every time, I can directly do order int plus plus. Okay, and I have to, sorry, change it as a string. Order number is equal to integer, integer dot parse int of delta one. String dot. Okay, whatever it is, guys. Like we just have to convert it into a what you call that, a string. Order int dot to string, something like that. So you just have to convert the integer into string. What I am trying to say here, right? So tomorrow when one more order comes, we are initializing the number as 1,000 again. So again it will just increment only once, and again it will come as 1,001. So every time you are creating an order, it is initializing that particular 1,000 again and again, and it is giving the same number. In order to avoid that, we are having this particular initialization in the DB sequence. So the DB sequence will tell you which is your next number. Okay.
Yes, got it.
Yeah. Maybe Pawan, you can check your logic in your project. Like when you get time,
Okay.
then you can like let me know if you have anything more to discuss on it.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah. But here on a simpler basis, we just generate a random number, and we use our get order number user exit. Now I have written this Java code. How to configure it? Okay. So for that, you have to go to our application platform, process modeling, order number. You have to go to our API. What is our API? Create order API. Okay. So you have to go to create order transaction. Under create order transaction, here you will have user exit. So here you will have all the list of user exits, whatever you have in the create order API. Now our user exit name is YFS get order number user exit. So you can directly go to YFS get order number user exit, and here you can create one. Just click a, give a plus symbol, and you can first you have to select whether it is for sales order, return order, transfer order, container, what kind of order has to do it. Like for example, I'm choosing return order, then this particular user exit will be invoked only when you are creating return order. What is meant by creating return order? In your order XML, you are mentioning the document type as 0003, which is a return order. So whenever you give the 0003, then it will invoke this particular user exit and it will process it. But if you want it as a sales order is nothing but 0001. So then it will invoke this particular user exit. So here you have to give the Java class whatever you are going to implement. What is my Java class name? It is this dot my class name. Okay. So like this, you can implement that particular user exit. Here you can see I have already implemented. So that is the reason why we are able to see a new number getting generated every time I create an order. Is that clear, guys? On get order number user exit.
Yes, Pradeep.
Yes, Pradeep.
Awesome. So the next one more user exit we have implemented is before create order user exit. This one. So what does this before create order user exit does? Let us see. You can see before create order user exit is called by the create order API before executing any application logic. What does that mean? So basically, if you are implementing this particular create order, sorry, implementing this particular before create order user exit, the logic whatever you are writing as part of this before create order user exit will be executed or invoked just before the create order invocation. I mean, we are invoking create order API, and you have some logic in this particular before create order user exit. The before create order user exit will be invoked just before that. If you are extending the system, you can use this user exit to manipulate data obtained by content providers. For example, different applications for order entry or different websites having different forms of placing order. What does that mean? Whenever you are placing an order in any website and you got some data into your system and you want to modify that data, whatever the data you are getting, you want to modify that particular data before it is invoking create order API, then you can use this particular before create order user exit. The code custom user exits implement this method in the interface. The system calls the method in your class. If the method gives any exception, the current transaction is getting rolled back. It is same as get order number user exit. So here also you have some interface. You have to implement that particular interface class. You have to implement that particular interface class, and you have to implement the unimplemented methods. So here you have two different methods. Two different methods is one method is taking it as string, one method is taking it as document. Otherwise, everything is same. You if you want the a return statement to be as document, you can implement this. If you want the return statement as string, you can use this. Okay. So now let us see what we can implement. We have already implemented one simple logic of before create order user exit, and let me show you. So what am I doing here? I am implementing it as a document. Okay. So document is nothing but an XML in, like it's a DOM object. Okay. So what am I doing from the input XML? Whatever I am getting, I am getting the root element and I am getting the enterprise code of it. Okay, and I'm also getting the person info ship to. So where is this person info ship to in my XML? Somewhere here. Okay, I'm getting the person info ship to, and I'm getting the country of the person info ship to. From the element person info ship to, I'm getting the country. Country is nothing but this value I'm getting. I'm putting a condition here. What am I putting? If the enterprise code, whatever I'm getting, okay, if it is equal to matrix and the country is US, then I'm adding a new attribute called as sourcing classification is equal to US. So basically, I'm using this particular before create order user exit. to manipulate the data which I got from the front end system, that is order capture system. How am I manipulating? Whenever the matrix is an enterprise and country is US, I'm adding a new attribute onto that particular order. Okay, is that clear?
Yes, Pradeep.
Yes, Pradeep.
Okay, so now let me create an order with enterprise code as matrix and country as US. I'll just give order number test and 1000. So, so order is created. Let us go and check it in our database whether the new attribute sourcing classification, where is it? Yeah, a new attribute sourcing classification is added or not. So let's start from IFS honor header where order number is equal to this. You can see a sourcing classification value US is added. Let us assume I'm giving the country address instead of US in person info ship to, I'm giving it as India. So according to the before create order user exit, what should happen? Whenever the enterprise code is matrix and country is US, we will be stamping the sourcing classification as US. But now the country is different. So let us see what happens. So you can see the order is created. Let us go and check for this order. You can see the sourcing classification is null. Likewise, you can manipulate any of the data, whatever you are getting from your front end system or order capture system, just before the create order API is invoked. You can do whatever you want in this particular before create order. So whatever we have shown here, it is a simple example. The example is whenever the country code in person info ship to is US and whenever the enterprise code is matrix, I want to stamp a new attribute called as sourcing classification which is US. Is that clear? And in order to configure, sorry, is that clear guys?
Yes, Pradeep.
Yeah. In order to configure this particular before create order user exit, it is similar to get order number user exit. You have to go to our create order API, and as part of this particular user exit you just have to search for before create order user exit, and in this before create order user exit you have, you can choose which particular document type and whether you want to, one second, whether you want to implement it as a service or as a Java class, you can do it. Why are we getting this implement as service here? Okay, and when you compare, when you go to our get order number user exit, I'm not getting that method at all. If you see here, I'm not getting this implement. I'll choose sales order also. I'm not getting this particular implement as a service option, but here I'm getting it as only Java class. When you go to our before create order user exit, I'm getting both options. Why is that? Because whenever you want to implement anything as a service, what is meant by service? Whatever you are configuring here are called as services. Whenever you want to configure or implement anything as a service will expect the input to be XML and the output also will be XML. Okay, so in order to have anything implemented as a service, it has to be an XML. And if you are not having the input and output as XML, then you will have only input implement as Java class. So here what is happening when you go and check our before create order user exit, we are having two methods. One method is with a document, one method is with string as I shown you guys earlier only. Where is it? Where is it? Yeah. Here you can see right. I'm having one method as string, one method as document. This method is having input as document, return statement as document. So this method, if you are writing the logic in this method, you can implement it as a service. If you are going to our get order number user exit, it is taking input as some map and giving output as some string. So this cannot be implemented as a service. So that is the reason why whenever you are implementing this get order number user exit, you can implement it as only a Java class. Whenever you are implementing before create order user exit, you can implement it as a service as well. Okay, so for that we have created a service called as before create order user exit. Maybe somewhere this is order fulfillment. Where did we create? Maybe here. Let me get that. So I know the flow service name. Where can I check? In which table can I check?
Firebase flow.
Just flow. Flow name equal to this. The flow name is before create O capital UE capital. This is my flow name. So this flow is present under order fulfillment in service as order capture. So under order capture, here it is present. So we just created this service. This service is nothing. You can keep an API component, give the Java code name, give the method name, and this service is used as part of our before create order use exit implementation. So here you can give the search before create order. Okay, is that clear, guys? On before create order user exit, on get order number user exit, on how to write a user exit, use an user exit, implement and configure an user exit. Any doubts so far, guys?
No from my end, Pradeep.
Abhishek and Noor.
Pradeep, can you just repeat like why the implement as a service and why implement as a service?
Okay, okay, fine. So, simple thing. I mean, like you have created a service called as Hello World, right? So, whenever you are creating it as an Hello World or any service, what is the input to this service? It will be always XML. Okay, any service, whatever you are configuring, service cannot take input as anything other than XML. So, any service you create, it is expecting the input to be XML and output also to be XML. So likewise, you have created many services so far. I mean, like we have created Dynamic on that XSL, that Hello World program, many things we have created, and everything is expecting the input to be XML, output to be XML. So what does that mean? You can create a service only if the input and output is XML. So here if you see our YFS get order number user exit, it is giving output as a string. It is a return is string. So that means that you cannot implement it as a service. Whereas if you see our before create order user exit, it is taking input as XML and output is also an XML. So whenever the input and output is XML, you can implement it as a service. So that is the reason why, as part of our user exit, before create order user exit, even in our Java docs, if you see, before create order user exit is taking input as document. Okay, I'll just click on here. You can see it is taking input as document and output as also document. That means XML. So because it is giving input and output as XML, you can implement it as a service. Whereas if you go to our before, sorry, get order number user exit, yeah, get order number user exit, it is taking input as a map, giving output as a string. So that's why you will not be able to implement it as a service. Is that clear, Abhishek?
Yes, Pradeep.
If you want, I can repeat one more. I mean, like, we'll try to give examples and see. But if you are
Yeah, I got it.
clear, then okay. Noor, any doubts, questions, clarification from your end? Okay, great, guys. That's all I have for the day. We'll continue tomorrow, same time. Thanks, everyone. Have a nice day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Pradeep.
Thank you, guys.